Well, I've just gone and bought two First World War two First World War tanks. The Airfix one here that you can see, which is a real classic in my opinion, and the EMHAR, is it EMHAR? There they are, and I'll make them in separate films. I was rummaging through some boxes, no idea, didn't have, it's not boxes with models in or anything, but I found that, which I must have bought, and it can't be that long. Well, I don't know, maybe time flies, doesn't it? Anyway, I have no recollection of buying it. I have no recollection of causing the bottom of the box to fade, and I have no recollection of getting green paint all over it. Now I know that paint, and it isn't a model making paint or a modelling paint or whatever you want to call it. It's a right mucky paint, I can tell you that. Then I open the box up, and I'd even painted it in that horrible paint. Here we are. I have no memory whatsoever of doing this. Now, obviously I painted it and then I didn't do anything with it. What a clever fella. To make matters worse, in the box with it was this. Dum dum dum. Could have lined that up better, couldn't I? Look at what it is. It is an Airfix Mark 1 British male tank in those colours. Actually, I remember this. I did this probably when I was about 13. And I remember I got the paint for this off my dad. And it was a little bit messy, but it got on there. Now the reason for having this fascination is, I remember the fascination with the colour is, I remember going around various places like the Bovingdon Tank Museum and a few other places, and they would have these old First World War tanks and they'd be painted in this dreadful green. Now I know things like councils and all of that, or whoever it was who had these tanks, would just paint them any old green. But I've also spoken to people who've worked on these tanks, getting them back up to scratch, sort of restoring them, and they seem to think that the earliest versions that went out might have been painted in this very industrial sort of almost Victorian green. So that's why I wanted to do at least one. But here we are, I've done one already, and I've got a female version, and this one is ancient. That is, doing the maths, that's got to be from the 1970s, probably about 76 when I did that. It was bundled up in a load of tissue, so I had no idea what it was. So here we have a very, very complicated state of affairs, which is loads of fun, isn't it? That's what we're in this for. So instead, what I'm going to do is make this one. It's in one of those horrible boxes that opens at the end. Have I got everything? And I'm going to, in this case, follow the painting instructions. That makes a change for me. What I'm actually going to try and do is open the instructions in some form or another. So I'm going to go for that. It's always disappointing when you get painting instructions not only in black and white, but they don't tell you what the colours are, so you just have to go and buy them. But I'm pretty sure I've got most of these now, one way or the other, either enamel or acrylic, so I'll give it a go. This means, in conclusion, the tank, the Airfix version of the World War I tank that I bought recently, will no longer be in, what should we call it, industrial green. It will be all nicely camouflaged like that. These were ship's guns, I believe, small ones, usually along the side of old battleships, destroyers and the like. I'll get my language sorted out one day. And the housing is similar to what can be found on some ships I have seen. The model itself, ooh, darkness, it's pretty good. I struggled with this when I was a kid, and I have to say there are two parts which hold the gun in. Let's see if I can point them out. This strip here and another one there, which are terribly fiddly. You can see how they fit into a gap or a slot. This one has two lugs that hold it in place. How you do that without getting glue on the gun, I do not know. So it's just a gamble. I remember making a couple of these as a kid so I could have like war games. And on the first one I got this to work. On the second one I didn't, and it all got stuck up and gummed up. But they might be the fiddliest bits I've encountered so far in this new world of making models. That then is our, I'm going to call it gun housing because I can't think what else to call it. There it is. This then fits on, oh, crash bang wallop, to one of these, a side. And in this case it's fitted on very nicely. The side is made up of two panels which go together when cleaned up, and it's almost authentic really. There you get an idea of what the gunner would be faced with, slotting into one of these boxes and firing away. How they saw out and how they could aim, I have no idea. And I've been inside a couple of these a couple of times. They're at Bovingdon Tank Museum and somewhere else somebody had one. They were doing it up, and I can't remember what, when or where. Having been in, I still can't work out how they did it. That then is a side with the gun in place, and then you end up with this, which is the other side without the gun attached, but the main body of the tank attached. So there we see various bits. Now I struggled with this as a kid because I didn't think to do it this way. And to be quite honest, the instructions don't encourage you to do it this way. But now I've got older and wiser, I can think these things through. So what I've got to do now is fit this gun onto here and then put the other side on. So that should be easy. Then I put the steering gear on at the back, which I've never been able to do properly and was never a success during the war, so they took them off. I think that's all. See you in a bit. Look at this. Done-ish. I've just realised I haven't put the tracks on. The moment I pressed record, I saw I haven't put the tracks on. One of the problems with the tracks is I can't remember where I put them. I've just realised that as well. So we'll have a quick look at this and then go and find the tracks and then put them on. I remember the tracks were quite fun to do and probably the best fitting and generally all round sort of well made tracks of all the Airfix tanks. I often struggled with getting the tracks on, but for some reason these all went well. Probably because you can line the whole thing with glue and then put weights on top and come back in about, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours. But here's the tank, virtually complete. Oh look, there's the Churchill box in the background. I'm going to make that in a minute, so that'll be on a later film. And the Churchill raises some interesting questions about tank design and what they're for. So we'll have a bit of a discussion on that one. It's worth having a bit of a discussion about this one in a minute when the tracks are on and it's painted properly. There we are, done. The Great War, the Airfix 172nd Great War British World War One British tank. What am I on about? That's 11 seconds wasted, isn't it? Anyway, done. The parts were good. They all fitted together. There weren't too many fiddly bits, and it was a rewarding model to make. The other thing is, I did make a few of these when I was a kid, and I always get this bit wrong, but look, I've got it so that it actually is mobile. It is rotating. I don't know if we're in focus. It's rotating at that point there. So I'm well happy. Not that I'm going to be playing with it and pushing it around, but there it is. So I've got to make the other versions now. I think I've got 2 other versions, and we'll have them all together. The most important thing about this tank is it's the first one to go into battle, and it's very sophisticated when you think about it. And it's designed by the British, but interestingly it wasn't used properly. The designers and those experimenting with it said they had to be used en masse. And it's only really the Germans coming up to the Second World War who really spot that, and it's a great shame. Consequently, somehow that seems to make this feel like a really important model. I'm quite proud to have made it yet again.